This is The Weekly on ClickOrlando.com with Justin Warmoth.
Good morning, I'm Justin Warmoth. The Seminole County Sheriff's Office has quietly been putting an emphasis on hiring women for non-traditional roles in law enforcement. It's been a priority for Sheriff Dennis Lima, who recently welcomed the first ever female member to the agency's underwater search and rescue team. This morning, Sheriff Lima is here to explain the new addition and the importance of the dive team, as well as an update on the fight against the opioid crisis. Sheriff, great to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me back on, Justin.
Absolutely. A lot to talk about this morning, but I do want to get started with a great initiative. I guess it's not really an initiative. It's something that you guys do every single day with the underwater search and recovery team and the new addition to this team and what kind of capabilities that she has that offer a different perspective and also allows the sheriff's office to be more inclusive.
Yeah, Justin, we're actually so excited about our first female in Seminole County's history to join our underwater search and rescue and dive team, Jen Literal. She's a supervisor here within our agency and works in our forensic section, but really has taken on this additional responsibility to join that team and is doing remarkable work.
Let's go through that, because Seminole County, 10% of Seminole County's body of water. And so they are active on a day-to-day basis. Tell us about the search and recovery team, the task force there, and their ultimate goal. Obviously, they want to search, but a lot of it is recovery.
Yeah, so I'll tell you, Justin, first, it is incredibly demanding to join the search and rescue team. These are expert swimmers. They have to maintain top physical condition to get in the murky, unknown waters, and sometimes that are in there for extended periods of time. And if you look at just last year here in Seminole County, we had 19 deployments. Out of the 19, 11 were for a search of, unfortunately, bodies to recover people who may be missing. 7 of those were searches for evidence. Usually it's a small piece of evidence, weapons, guns, and et cetera. And one was a vehicle crash that was submerged in the water. But you can imagine just for a moment the training and discipline that has to go into getting in that water, sometimes with zero visibility whatsoever, and kind of navigating around hazards and all of those unknowns that are in there.
It's absolutely so tedious, and you can easily miss something. And that's where this new technology comes in that you guys have secured, this underwater drone. That's got to be monumental in recovering what you need to recover in a fairly quicker amount of time than opposed to not having it.
Yeah, I think that policing continues to evolve, and we receive assistance with various grants and supports. But this new technology will not only help Seminole County, but surrounding municipalities and jurisdictions as well. And to kind of put it in a frame of mind, people are pretty familiar with drones that are flying in the air. This is an underwater drone. It's controlled by remote control. It can help with grid search. It can identify things that may be underwater that will help kind of put our dive team in a particular location, in a particular spot. And again, that is incredibly less demanding than a normal underwater grid search. And we're excited about really using this technology to find closure for victims and recover critical pieces of evidence that will help us make cases.
Absolutely. And I know that you've made a point with the Seminole County Sheriff's Office to promote women to major positions. Tell us about that and why that's so important to you.
Yeah, so Justin, I think that we try to be intentional. 50% of the executive command staff here at the Sheriff's Office are female chiefs and female leaders, but they're not in the position because they're females. They're in the position because they're the most competent and qualified people to serve in that capacity. And I think that it is incredibly important that we celebrate people who are the first. And this past year or so, we had the first female motor deputy, Ebony Perry, that we featured on local news and celebrated within our ranks. And now Jen Literal is the first female member of our dive team. And you think in 2022, you're probably a little surprised to say that we're still hitting first with this. But I absolutely think it's important to offer that diversity. They are incredibly important to our overall strategy and philosophy, and just simply good, strong leaders that are paving the path, I hope, for young women that may be interested in a career in this type of business. So we have to celebrate them.
It has to be a competitive advantage for hiring as well. I imagine just, we hear about the shortage of law enforcement officers around the country. That has to play a role in how you guys can get the staff that you need, the sworn officers and deputies that you need on a day-to-day basis. That has to be a competitive advantage in my eyes.
But it absolutely is. But I think that we as a society have sensationalized this work based on driving, responding to resistance, and tactical shooting. When the fact of the matter is all of those things are incredibly important to this business, but they are just a fraction of what we do every single day. And having a diverse, emotionally aware, emotionally intelligent workforce really helps us be inviting and connect with all of our citizens that we come in contact with.
So when there's outreach and you guys I know you guys visit schools and talk to kids and all that, the emphasis of anyone can do this job. Is that something that is a focus as you hit the schools and try to, mentor these kids?
Yeah, the schools, the universities,
Yep.
the women's summits, actually, when there's a women's event in Orlando, we are intentional with sending our recruiters down there and making sure that our females at various ages and various positions in life know that if they should choose, that there is a successful path and career here in policing, particularly here at the Seminole County Sheriff's Office.
That's great to hear. I do want to switch to opioids and the crisis surrounding opioids, which has not gone away. In fact, it's gotten worse. It's spreading like wildfire. And it's something that I know that the Seminole County Sheriff's Office and you in particular are taking very seriously and trying to get a grip on this, because just for perspective, can you put into words and maybe stats of how truly terrifying the current state of this crisis is?
Yeah, so as a disclaimer, the numbers that I will share with you right now are pretty consistent across the state and country. But you look at Seminole County alone, we know to be a very affluent county with a great quality of life and wonderful schools and all of those things that we are so proud of. But sadly, last year, 2021, there was 852 overdoses in this county, 125 overdose deaths, all while law enforcement and public safety professionals deployed the life-saving drug naloxone or Narcan more than 700 times, or put it in perspective, brought people back to life more than 700 times. So these numbers are incredibly alarming. We are optimistic that our comprehensive strategy here is working out. There's actually nearly a 90% decrease year to date on overdose deaths. We are helping change the face of dependency and addiction. And I think that the hard work still lies ahead. We don't know what the long-term numbers are going to be this year, but we're incredibly optimistic that we are doing all that we can right now to make sure that we combat this.
And our conversation on the opioid crisis is just getting started. Coming up, Sheriff Lima will break down how his agency is working to reverse course and hold drug dealers accountable. Stay with us.
This is The Weekly on ClickOrlando.com with Justin Warmoth.
Welcome back. According to a new study published in The Lancet, more than 1.2 million additional people across North America are expected to die of opioid overdoses by 2029 if dramatic interventions are not taken. That's more than double the number of deaths seen over the last 2 decades. Seminole County Sheriff Dennis Lima is back with us this morning to explain why fentanyl is making it so difficult to tackle this public health emergency. But why is it so difficult, as opposed to maybe some other drugs, to escape the grip of fentanyl for users?
So what happened is a series, and this is incredibly important because all the viewers that are watching in, all of you know somebody who is struggling with this. You may not know they're struggling, but everybody now knows somebody who's struggling. We know the story of Big Pharma and particularly Purdue Pharmaceutical. We now know the history of overprescribing introducing 80% of the people who are now addicted to an opioid were introduced because they were simply following the doctor's orders. We became a pain-centric society. That was step one. That created unprecedented dependency, but people weren't dying. They were just addicted. They were getting their fix daily. When we eliminated that through closing of rogue doctors and pill mills and all of those things that we did here in the state of Florida, the people that were addicted to the opioid, the Oxycontin pill, turned to street level heroin. Ultimately, street level heroin became synthetically processed with fentanyl. Now, fentanyl, as a reminder, is 100 times more potent than morphine, 50 times more potent than heroin, a lot less expensive to make than the organic process of growing poppies and processing that and getting a lot of people involved. And what's happening is people are spiking their drugs for that extra kick, and they're spiking it, and that fraction, a microgram of some of this fentanyl drug is a lethal dose. And this is why people are taking drugs, many cases that are processed in some clandestine lab, or a fancy word to say somebody's bathroom, by non-chemists to make it look like the Oxycontin pharmaceutical grade pill that they have become comfortable with for taking for 5 or 6 years. So they get it, they rip it out of the package, they put it in their mouth and go unconscious nearly immediately. That's what the crisis is right now, and that's what we're trying to combat.
And that is wide ranging as far as the drugs that are being used with this fentanyl. Fentanyl is being laced in a number of different drugs. And listen, all drugs are illegal. I'm not saying that, but some of the lower level, whether it's just like cocaine or marijuana, something that you wouldn't necessarily think I'm going to overdose and die on, that is being laced with fentanyl as well, correct?
So we're seeing fentanyl in everything. And, we like to describe it as Russian roulette. Is people who are using these recreational drugs that they may feel more comfortable using, which are still illegal and still bad. But they're saying, well, you know what, I'm only using marijuana or I'm using cocaine. It's not that fentanyl stuff. Mm-hmm. These drug dealers are mixing it, and the people who are buying it have absolutely no idea what's inside it. You think about this, Justin. Last year, more than 100,000 people in this country dead from a drug overdose. The number one cause of death for young people under the age of 30 years old, is a drug overdose. Literally every single day, as recent as 5 hours ago, I'm receiving a command text message of another person that is overdosing. And for the first time, think about it, our children, our grandchildren are likely to live less than we do. And that is incredibly alarming.
I want to talk about some of the signs, because you mentioned everyone has someone that they know who's being affected by this and might be addicted to fentanyl or just, opioids in general. But what are some of the signs to look for maybe that coworker, that friend, that family member?
So what's important is the work that we're doing with Project Opioid, mm-hmm. and that's led by a founder and CEO, Andre Bailey. It ties in the business, the faith, public and private sector communities, because what's happening is a lot of people who are dependent on opioids are actually going into work every single day. And sometimes we're fearful to ask what is going on in somebody's life. And we look at it as maybe a performance issue or something like that. But the first sign of somebody's dependency is a change in behavior. We see a change in behavior. We have to dig in. And I would argue now more than ever, because of the social distancing, the remote working, sometimes we're not as close personally with people that we would normally be with. And people work hard who are dependent to let their friends and family and others know that they're doing absolutely fine. We have to have the courage as a society to say, well, you really don't look good. You're telling me you're doing fine, but you really don't look good. Second is we have to break the stereotype that this is a moral character flaw. It's the number one thing that all of us can do right now is to change the narrative and move away from people who are addicted to substances as this narrative that is somebody living under the overpass that has dealt with drugs and promiscuous behavior their entire lives. And now this is a consequence of that behavior. Nothing other than following the doctor's orders because they had a legitimate medical condition. And then we have to give people the help and access they need through the gold standard for treatment. That's medical assisted treatment, and many times combined with cognitive behavioral therapy. You cannot be addicted to a drug and not also be experiencing a mental health crisis. And we have to make sure that those services are combined and convenient for everybody.
I want to end on this. I know that there are people who will say, listen, we need to stop locking up people who are trying to buy drugs. They are not the issue. It's the people who are selling knowingly these drugs laced with fentanyl that are potentially killing people, and making sure that they pay the repercussions or maybe even get ahead of it on that end. I know that's a prioritization for the Seminole County Sheriff's Office, if I'm not mistaken. And I know that that's something that people are saying loud and clear across the nation. Am I right on that?
It is a priority for us. So I think that we're close to 30 prosecutions for first-degree murder for the drug dealers that are dealing deadly doses of fentanyl. I think that we have spearheaded on behalf of the state of Florida and sheriffs throughout the state a new bill that would allow for the prosecution of people selling drugs in proximity to a drug treatment facility. And I think just last year, we were incredibly alarmed to learn that one of these treatment facilities was actually selling and administering drugs on the inside of the facility. But I think that we have to be stern on the drug dealer. Every person who they deal to is likely to experience similar fate if they have what we call hot dose of drugs. While at the same time, I think that we know that we can't arrest our way out of this problem. And the people who are down that path, reasonable diversion programs need to be considered to make sure that we're helping people be able to sustain themselves. Look, that only helps society because, you make somebody self-dependent, they are more likely to provide the service, support, and love for their family members. And we know that children who are born of somebody who's incarcerated or addicted are 8 times more likely to engage in maladaptive behavior themselves. So we're fixing generations of families, I'd like to believe.
And many experts say getting this crisis under control won't happen until legislative action is taken. Last month, Florida Senator Marco Rubio filed a bill to combat the illegal sale of fentanyl and other drugs online. You can read that proposal and get the latest information on the epidemic right now on clickorlando.com/weekly. I'm Justin Wormuth. Hope you have a great Sunday.